you know? A lot of people live under the quiet illusion that change is going to come to them like a delivery package. That if they just keep going through the motions, sure. One day they'll wake up and life will look completely different. They say, when the time is right, I'll start my business, sure. When things calm down, I'll work on my health. When I have more confidence, sure, I'll go for my dreams. But here's the truth that separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck, sure. The turning point in any person's life is not a date on the calendar. It's a decision in the mind. The moment you decide, truly decide, everything changes, sure. And I'm not talking about the kind of decision where you commit and then see how it goes, sure. I'm talking about a decision that feels like there is no going back, like the bridge has been burned behind you. You've met people who've done it. Someone who one day just quit smoking after years of struggling, or who lost 100 pounds because they finally said, enough. From the outside, it seems sudden, but on the inside, sure, it's the result of an inner shift from wishing to deciding. The problem is that most people confuse wishing with deciding. Wishing says, it would be nice if. Deciding says, it's happening, period. Wishing keeps you comfortable, sure, because it allows you to dream without demanding action. Decision is uncomfortable because it makes excuses irrelevant. When you've truly decided, there's no more bargaining with yourself. No more. I'll start next Monday. You've moved from the realm of possibility into the realm of inevitability. Why does this matter so much? Sure. Because human beings are wired to respond to the level of seriousness they bring to a goal. If you treat something like an option, sure, your brain will file it away with all the other maybes and somedays in your life. But when you decide, the mind begins reorganizing itself around that choice. Your time gets prioritized differently. Your conversations change, sure. Even your energy starts to shift because you've given your brain a single clear instruction. This is the new reality. Build around it. Now, here's the interesting thing. Seriousness doesn't wait for the right conditions. It creates them. The world will never present you with a perfect day to start. If you're waiting for that magical alignment of time, money, energy, and inspiration, you're going to be waiting a very long time, sure. The people who transform their lives don't have better conditions. They just make the decision and then work relentlessly to make the conditions match the decision. And yes, that means there's risk. It means you might feel fear in your stomach and doubt in your mind. But here's the paradox. Once you decide, sure, the fear loses some of its power because the question is no longer, should I, but how will I? Decision takes you out of the arena of endless hesitation and puts you on the playing field of execution. Think about it. Every meaningful change in your life probably started with a decision. Not with a book you read, not with a piece of advice, sure, not with an inspirational video. Those might have influenced you. But the actual turning point was when you said, that's it, I'm doing it. And the people who never reach that moment, no matter how much they know, sure, remain trapped in cycles of almost starting and almost changing. So if you're serious about change, sure, stop looking for the perfect date to circle on your calendar. There's no magical Monday, no January 1st that holds the secret to transformation. The power is in deciding, fully, completely, without the option of retreat. The very instant you decide, sure, you set forces in motion that cannot be activated any other way. And when that happens, life starts bending in your direction, sure. Not because fate has favored you, but because you finally stood up and said, enough waiting. This is the day, sure. This is the moment. Because until you decide, you're just interested. Once you decide, you're committed. And commitment changes everything. Comfort is a tricky thing. On the surface, it feels good. It feels safe. It feels like life is under control. But beneath that surface, comfort has a way of quietly robbing you of the urgency, the hunger, and the creativity that real progress demands, sure. Most people don't fail because they can't do more. They fail because they've made peace with doing less. Comfort doesn't shout at you. Sure. It whispers. You're fine right where you are. And that whisper can be more dangerous than any loud setback. Sure, because at least pain pushes you to move. Comfort convinces you to stay. It's human nature to seek what feels good in the moment, sure. Our biology rewards us for finding safety and conserving energy. But here's the catch. The same instincts that kept our ancestors alive in dangerous times can keep us stagnant in modern times. We no longer have to hunt for food or outrun predators, so the danger we face today is not physical survival, it's emotional and intellectual decay. And comfort is the velvet cage that keeps us from stretching, risking, and growing, sure. I've seen people work hard for years to achieve a certain level of stability, and the moment they reach it, something subtle happens, sure. They ease up. They start to protect what they have instead of reaching for more. They stop learning because they feel they already know enough, sure. They stop pushing because they feel they've earned the right to relax. Now, I'm not against enjoying the rewards of your work, but there's a big difference between resting and retiring from your own potential. Rest is temporary recovery. Comfort is a permanent decision to stay smaller than you could be. The truth is, every step forward in life requires passing through discomfort. The gym is uncomfortable. Starting a business is uncomfortable. Confronting your own bad habits is uncomfortable, sure. But discomfort is the tuition you pay for growth. And if you avoid paying it, you don't get the reward. People say they want to change, sure. But what they often mean is they want change without the discomfort of changing, sure. That's like wanting to get fit without sweating. It just doesn't happen. The danger of comfort is that it dulls your awareness, sure. You don't notice how much time is passing. You don't see how your skills are getting outdated, sure. You don't realize how many opportunities you're letting slip because they would require you to stretch beyond your current level. And by the time you do notice, years may have gone by. Comfort is not neutral. It's quietly moving you backward, sure. Because while you're standing still, the world is moving forward. I once heard someone say, comfort zones are where dreams go to die. That's not just a motivational phrase, it's a reality check. If you look at the seasons of your life where you grew the most, they were probably the seasons where you were the most uncomfortable, where you didn't have all the answers, where you had to figure things out on the fly, where you were challenged to rise to a new level, sure. And that's why I say comfort is the greatest enemy of progress, because it steals those seasons from you before they can even begin, sure. So if you want your life to change, you have to become suspicious of comfort. Not in the sense that you can't enjoy moments of peace, but in the sense that you never mistake peace for progress. When you start feeling too comfortable, that's your signal, sure. It's a sign you've stopped stretching. And if you've stopped stretching, you've started shrinking. You just haven't noticed yet. And remember, comfort will offer you 1,000 reasons to wait. But progress only needs one reason to begin, sure. You've decided you're done standing still. Because comfort might feel like safety, but in reality, it's the slowest form of surrender, sure. One of the reasons people never get serious about changing their life is because they've never gotten clear about what they're actually aiming for. They say they want more success or more money or more happiness, but here's the problem. More isn't a plan. More has no finish line, no measurable target, no timeline. And when your goal is vague, your actions will be vague. Clarity is powerful because it removes the fog. It takes something abstract and turns it into something specific, and specificity creates direction. If you say, I want to be in better shape, that's admirable, but it's also too loose to hold you accountable. What does better shape mean? Running 5 miles without stopping, losing 20 pounds, being able to keep up with your kids without getting winded. Without defining it, your brain has nothing concrete to chase, sure. So it drifts into an action. When you get serious, you stop making wishes and start making definitions. You take the time to write down exactly what you want, why you want it, and when you intend to have it. Sure. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think writing it down is just a formality. It's not. Sure. It's the very process of defining the goal that begins to pull you toward it. Once you're crystal clear, your mind starts filtering the world differently. Opportunities you never noticed before suddenly stand out. Distractions that used to tempt you now seem irrelevant. That's the power of clarity. It aligns your focus with your intention. Clarity also strengthens commitment. Think about it. If you tell yourself, I want to make more money, and then next month you make an extra $50, sure. Technically, you've succeeded, but you don't feel successful because that's not what you really meant, sure. The lack of clarity allows you to accept crumbs instead of demanding the feast. On the other hand, if you decide, I'm going to earn an extra $50 in this year by building this specific business, you can track your progress, measure your effort, sure, and know whether you're on pace or not. The goal becomes real because it's been defined. Philosophically, clarity is about truth telling, sure. It's you being honest with yourself about what you actually want, not what sounds good to others, not what's convenient, and not what's safe. Sometimes we hide behind vague goals because specific goals would expose the gap between where we are and where we want to be, sure. Specific goals make it obvious when we're falling short, and that can be uncomfortable. But remember, sure, we've already talked about the danger of comfort. Clarity is part of breaking out of that trap. When you lack clarity, sure, you end up chasing too many things at once. You sign up for every opportunity, say yes to every request, sure, and fill your days with activity that has no strategic value. But when you're clear, you develop the power of the no. You can say, that's a good idea, but it's not aligned with my goal. And you can walk away without guilt, sure. Clarity isn't just about knowing what to do. It's also about knowing what not to do, sure. And here's the most liberating part. Once you're clear, you stop waiting for motivation. You don't need to feel like it every day because you've already defined where you're going and why it matters. Motivation is a mood, sure. Clarity is a compass. And if you follow the compass, you'll get where you're going even on days when the mood isn't there, sure. So if you want to get serious, get clear. Define the finish line, count the cost, and write it down where you can see it every single day, sure. Because when your vision is sharp, your excuses go blurry. Motivation is wonderful when you have it. Sure. It's that spark that makes you want to get out of bed early, tackle the day, and believe you can take on the world. The problem is, sure, motivation doesn't show up every day. It's unpredictable. It's like the weather. Sunny and bright one moment, cloudy and gray the next, sure. And if you're waiting for motivation to always be there before you act, your progress will always be at the mercy of your mood. Discipline, sure, on the other hand, is steady. Discipline doesn't care whether you're tired, bored, or uninspired. It doesn't negotiate with your feelings, sure. It's the quiet, unglamorous force that keeps you showing up long after the excitement has faded. And here's the truth. Until you learn to value discipline more than motivation, you'll always be starting over. You see, motivation is emotional fuel, and emotions are temporary. They rise and fall based on what's happening around you, sure. You watch an inspiring video. You're fired up. You have a rough day. The fire's gone. But discipline is a decision backed by structure. It's setting the alarm clock and getting up when it rings, whether you feel like it or not, sure. It's doing the workout when you'd rather stay in bed. It's making the calls when you'd rather avoid rejection. Motivation asks, do I want to? Discipline says, it doesn't matter. It's time to do it. People who rely only on motivation live in cycles, sure. They get excited, they start strong, they hit a bump, they stop. Then weeks or months later, something re-inspires them, and the cycle repeats, sure. They mistake these bursts of energy for progress, but it's just motion without momentum. Discipline is what turns motion into momentum, sure, because discipline is repetition, and repetition compounds. Philosophically, discipline is a form of self-respect, sure. It's keeping promises you made to yourself, even when no one's watching. Every time you follow through, sure, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more serious you become about your goals. Sure, it's not just about willpower. It's about identity. When you see yourself as someone who does the work no matter what, sure, you begin to operate differently. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying motivation is useless. It's a great starter, sure, but it's a terrible finisher. Use motivation to get moving, but lean on discipline to keep going. Think of it like this, sure. Motivation is the match that lights the fire, but discipline is the wood that keeps it burning through the night. Without the wood, sure, the flame dies fast. And discipline isn't about being harsh or joyless. In fact, sure, the most disciplined people I know have more freedom than anyone else because they've built habits that protect their time, their health, sure, and their energy. They don't have to scramble or panic because they've done the work consistently, sure. The freedom comes from knowing you've already done today what most people will put off until tomorrow. So if you're waiting for the perfect wave of motivation before you start, you're already behind, sure. The people who win are the ones who start before they feel ready and keep going after they feel tired. They let discipline carry them through the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Because motivation will get you moving, sure, but discipline will get you there. And if you want to change your life, getting there is the only thing that matters. One of the clearest signs that someone has gotten serious about their life is that their standards have gone up. They no longer accept what they used to tolerate, sure. And I'm not just talking about money or status. I'm talking about the quality of their work, their health, their relationships, even the thoughts they allow themselves to dwell on. Because nothing truly changes until your standards rise. The funny thing is, sure, most people think they already have high standards. But if you look closely, sure, you'll see a gap between what they say they want and what they're actually willing to allow. They might say they value health, sure, but they'll still skip workouts and eat whatever's convenient. They might say they value financial independence, sure, but they'll tolerate wasting hours every week on things that bring no return. The truth is, your real standards aren't written on your vision board. They're revealed in what you consistently accept from yourself and from life. Rising your standards is powerful because it forces a chain reaction. The moment you say, I will no longer accept being out of shape, you either change your habits or you start feeling the discomfort of violating your own rule. When you say, I will no longer tolerate toxic relationships, you either step up your boundaries or you live in the tension of betraying yourself. The discomfort becomes a teacher. It pushes you toward alignment between what you say you want and what you actually do. Philosophically, this is about self-definition. Every human being lives within a range of what's acceptable and what's unacceptable to them, sure. The bottom of the range is your minimum standard. If your minimum standard is too low, you'll survive, but you'll never thrive. For example, if your minimum financial standard is just pay the bills, you'll find a way to do it, but you'll stop there, sure. If your standard is, I save and invest a certain percentage every month, no matter what, you'll live differently, make different decisions, and attract different opportunities. What's interesting is that when you raise your standards, sure, you don't even have to force certain changes. They happen naturally, sure. If your new standard is that you only spend time with people who uplift and challenge you, you'll stop entertaining gossip and negativity without even thinking about it. If your standard is excellence in your work, sure, you'll start staying the extra hour to refine it, not because someone told you to, but because it's who you are now. Now, here's the hard truth. Raising your standards will cost you. It might cost you certain friendships, certain habits, maybe even certain opportunities that don't align with the new you. But the alternative is even more costly, sure. Staying stuck at a level of life you've already outgrown. And there's a deeper reason why this matters. Life tends to meet you at the level of your standards. Sure. If you carry yourself as someone who accepts the bare minimum, life will gladly give it to you. Sure. But if you carry yourself as someone who demands more, from yourself first, and then from the world, life has a way of rising to meet you. Not instantly, not without resistance, but inevitably. So the real question isn't whether you want more out of life. Everybody says they do, sure. The real question is, what will you no longer tolerate? Because the moment you refuse to go back to the old level, sure, you've already taken the first step forward. And that's the beauty of it. When your standards rise, your results have no choice but to follow. At the end of the day, seriousness isn't measured by what you say, what you believe, or even what you plan. It's measured by what you actually do. Action is the only proof of seriousness. Everything else, sure, no matter how impressive it sounds in conversation, is just theory. I've met people with incredible ideas, powerful dreams, sure, and even detailed strategies written out in journals. They talk with passion about where they're going, but weeks, months, even years later, sure, nothing has changed. Why? Because the talk never turned into consistent, deliberate action. Life doesn't pay you for intentions, sure. It pays you for execution. Action is the bridge between your current reality and your desired reality. And here's the thing. The bridge is never built all at once. You don't create a new life in a single leap. You build it brick by brick, step by step, choice by choice. But without the first step, there's no second. Without motion, there's no momentum, sure. The most serious people you'll ever meet are not necessarily the most talented, the most educated, or even the most connected. They're the ones who take relentless, consistent action, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unglamorous. Psychologically, action changes you in a way that thought alone cannot. Thinking can inspire you, action transforms you, sure. The moment you take a real step toward your goal, making the call, signing up for the class, starting the workout, launching the project, something in your identity shifts. You go from being someone who wants to into someone who is doing. And that shift creates a feedback loop. The more you act, the more you believe in yourself, and the more you believe in yourself, the more you act. Now, action doesn't mean perfection, sure. You'll make mistakes, take wrong turns, and face setbacks. But action has a way of teaching you what no amount of planning could, sure. You can study swimming for years, but until you get in the water, you don't really know how it feels. The same goes for business, relationships, health. Experience is the real classroom, and action is the tuition you pay to attend. The people who never act are often waiting for certainty. They want all the answers before they begin. But here's the irony. Action is what creates clarity, sure. You don't need to know the entire path to take the first step. In fact, the first step will often reveal the second, sure. And the second will reveal the third. Without action, you're just sitting in the dark waiting for the lights to turn on. With action, you light a candle and start moving forward, one room at a time. And let's be honest, the world can tell when you're serious, sure. You can say you're committed, but if your actions don't match your words, people see right through it. Even you see through it, sure. The mind knows when it's lying to itself. Every time you say you're going to do something and don't, you weaken your own self-trust. Every time you follow through, you strengthen it. So when it comes down to it, seriousness isn't about how much you want something. It's about how much you're willing to do for it day after day. If someone looked only at your actions, no explanations, no excuses, would they know you're serious? Because in the end, it's simple. Your actions are the loudest thing about you. And if they don't speak, nothing else you say will matter.